morning and welcome to our 39th Coffee with the Commissioner event. Just very early in the morning, and we're trying to work out a new system here, but I think it's going to work pretty well. We are on Facebook Live. It's Coffee with the Commissioner, 39th Coffee with the Commissioner, and we've got several special guests with us here today. And I'm going to start out by introducing everyone, then we're going to go right down the list, and there's a lot to talk about and lots of interesting stuff going on. So we'll start out with, this morning we have Janice Gilley, who's our Escambia County Administrator. Welcome aboard. We've got Eric Gilmore here this morning as well. Thanks for being here early in the morning. He's our Emergency Manager. We've got Mr. Rusty Branch. He is the Escambia County Destination Marketing Association Executive Director. And then we have Mr. Michael Silver, who's the president of Paint University. He's a local entrepreneur here, an actual graduate of our Small Business Incubator CoLab, and he's going to talk about some really cool things that he's got working in District 1. So appreciate everyone getting up early in the morning and being here. Let's see. I got to press this button here. Hang on one second. Guys, we might have to redo that all again, if you don't mind. Add a title. Am I still on? Looks like I'm not live yet. Where do I add my title? Oh, okay, here we go. 39.
Bless you.
All right. Okay, I'm ready to go. Is this going? Debbie, can you see me live on Facebook yet? No? You can't? Uh-oh. Okay, so I've done that. What are we doing? Go live. Sorry, guys, we've got a little, here we go. Looks like it's starting to rock.
All good.
Oh, setting up your web. Well, good morning and welcome to our 39th Coffee with the Commissioner event. It's Wednesday morning. That means we're live here from my office, fourth floor of the Escambia County office building downtown. We've got some special guests here this morning, and we're very happy to have everyone aboard with us. Let me talk about exactly who is with us this morning. We've got Janice Gilley. Good morning, Janice. She's the Escambia County Administrator. We've got Mr. Eric Gilmore. He's the Escambia County Emergency Management Director. We've got Mr. Rusty Branch, who's the Director of the DMO, the Destination Marketing Organization for Escambia County. And then we've got Mr. Michael Silver, who is a local entrepreneur, a graduate of the Small Business Incubator here locally, CoLab. He's got some really cool stuff going on out in District 1 that we're going to talk with him about. So lots to get to, lots to talk about. But we'll start with the important stuff. Obviously, we're looking, we've changed our whole way of life with this COVID outbreak. You know, we're all on Zoom chats instead of being live in person at Hardee's or McDonald's or Denny's. But in some respects, we can probably reach a lot more people this way because we're able to leverage technology. But overnight, and looking at the dashboard, it looks as though we've got a total of 598 cases of COVID in Escambia County. I know a lot of those are at the long-term care facilities. So our thoughts and prayers go out to all those people who are stricken with this. But I want to start right there with Eric Gilmore. Eric, how are we doing with the long-term care facilities? And I know the National Guard has sent strike teams out. Do you have anything that you can report? I looked at the sit rep yesterday afternoon. It looks like all hands on deck, but anything you could report?
So we continue, state incident management team continues sending out the strike teams. We'll have another strike team in the area tomorrow doing another long-term care facility. It looks like they're just going to try to methodically hit all the long-term care facilities in our area. So across the region, in Region 1 from here to Apalachicola River, they're continuously sending in these strike teams, trying to get ahead of the situation. And those who are having prolonged problems, leaving team members back, try to segregate and fix their problem with infection control practices and some specialists in those areas. So they're hitting them pretty hard. They're getting in there pretty quick, and They're doing a lot of sampling, as you see. That's why we had our increase in numbers over the weekend, was that elevated 50 that we saw right off the bat, because they were in those long-term care facilities doing testing throughout. So.
And I wanted to mention something related to that as well. I know the governor has put out an emergency rule that that if you are going to be discharged from the hospital and to go back into a long-term care facility, that you may not be put into that facility unless you've been tested and you've tested negative.
Okay,
So
that's
they are
good to know.
Precautions there as well.
And that's 2 tests in 24-hour period, 24 hours apart, 2 negative tests.
Mm-hmm.
What about antibody testing? We're hearing some stuff in the news that pretty soon that's going to be available on a drive-through basis here in Escambia County. Why don't you tell Eric and or Janice, whoever wants to weigh in on it, what's the status of that, and when will we be able to get that?
Good question. So it's been said that some of the drive-through testing sites will receive antibody testing. I don't know if one of our sites is going to be one of those testing sites. I was going to get with our incident commander here locally and find out if he knew anything about it. I hadn't had a chance to get with him this morning, but I do know some hospitals who are interested in it are going to receive direct shipment from the state, some antibody testing sites, and I suspect some of our local hospitals in the area will take them up on that. So I haven't got a hard yes or no yet, but that was what I was going to track down today. So.
Okay. Yeah, good. I think that would be good to know. I think I heard that on the radio this morning that that's something that's going to be happening. So I'd like to get the word out, because to me, that's very interesting to know, because
Right.
the antibody test would tell you whether or not you've already been exposed to it. Am I correct in that?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move over to Janice. Janice, obviously, I was out at the beach this weekend. I'm sure you probably were as well. There was a lot of emotions last week when we opened it up, but I think what I saw going up and down via De Luna and going to several locations was folks were being very responsible. They were following all the guidance that we had put out. Obviously we've got the signs put out about social distancing and groupings. Do you have anything to report from the weekend, or any issues?
Yeah, I mean, we did have a couple of issues in terms of Avenida 18. So I'm going to go on and put it out there that Avenida 18 is an area that we are monitoring very closely. We also, but I did have the opportunity to go toward Park West on Saturday afternoon, and there appeared to be an impromptu car show with a bunch of young folks. And it was wonderful to go by and see how they had set up their vehicles, but that they were all staying in groups of less than, sometimes just 5 or 6 young people standing around talking, and then they were all gone by sundown. The staff that I've spoken with, we have had an amazing staff from code enforcement, public works, parks department. I mean, our staff has been amazing to go out there and try and also support our lifeguards in, just kind of helping to give a friendly reminder to folks if they did, kind of get a little overzealous and maybe get a little closer together than they should have. But I would say that the response from our community has been overwhelming in terms of the way they have followed the guidance that has been provided. And I do also appreciate everyone's understanding of our, facilities that we have provided out there. They're not what you're used to out there, but on the other hand, we are still working through what it looks like to social distance in those bathhouses. And I also appreciate their consideration for us blocking off the pavilions. I did not see anyone jump in the barricades to get into the pavilions. And I do appreciate that, because I think making sure that we have a little bit more distance between us and what we would consider maybe a spike in this particular virus, it would be helpful in terms of being able to make sure that we keep those facilities clean for folks and everyone's comfortable. The amenities we're providing are also safe for their families.
Now, Janice, let me ask you something, because I got beat up by a couple of people who contacted me, and they said, look, the social distancing thing, we go to Walmart, we go to Lowe's, we go to Home Depot, and we're walking throughout the store waiting in lines. And what's the difference between that and a person going into a traditional restroom and maintaining his own space? What is the thought process in terms of when we could open the regular restroom facilities? A lot of people are really creeped out by using, the outhouses, the porta potties.
Yeah, but we were providing disinfectant and things like that. So when you typically go into our bathhouses at the beach, you're going in barefoot.
Right.
So you're having more of your skin and contact with all the surfaces than you necessarily would in other facilities. The other thing is as our staff mentioned to you at the last meeting, we currently already have to use the sheriff's department to sometimes clear out the restrooms whenever we need to clean them. And so I think having someone that is focused specifically on counting people in and counting people out and things like that in and out of the bathhouse, I think that's the other thing that we're having to grapple with, is having a staff person be there full time and making sure that we monitor that distance. So there are things like that. And then also just the cleaning of all of those surfaces in those bathhouses at, in a number of times each day is also the other consideration.
Okay. Well, let's get Rusty. I want to bring you into the conversation now. Rusty Branch is joining us. He's in the middle of your screen on the top. He's the executive director of Escambia County's Destination Marketing Organization. Rusty, tell us a little bit about what you do, your organization, and then I'd like you to give me your update from your perspective. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Commissioner, and thanks for this opportunity. I hope can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I know we had a little trouble with hearing me in the testing, but I'm the executive director of the Escambia County Destination Marketing Organization. One thing we don't do is marketing. It's a trade title, but we don't market. We are a group of lodging providers who just seek what's best for Escambia County and advocate for things that are going to be good for, certainly tourism and lodging, but also for the whole county, because one of the unique things about our group is that all of our members live right here. In a lot of resort destinations, beach destinations, you'll have ownership groups from Atlanta or New York, and so they don't have a vested interest in the community other than their properties. But all of our members are residents of either Escambia or Santa Rosa County. Most of them lifelong residents, and so that's what we try to do, is what's good for tourism in Escambia County, but what's best for our community. And from our perspective, I mean, this has been a difficult situation. There's been, a lot of job loss across many sectors, but certainly tourism was hit as hard as any. And so that's been a very difficult path, but our folks, our members have, we wanted what's best for this community. So we've listened to you all as commissioners, and thank you for the thoughtful decisions you've made. I haven't talked with many of you. I know these decisions weren't easy and you didn't make them off the cuff. We've listened to the healthcare providers, and so we've tried to follow every recommendation and be as compliant and participate in this time of trouble like everybody else. And so that's where we've been. Now, in terms of last weekend with opening the beaches back up, and as Ms. Gilly just said, and as you said, we were out at the beach. I was there myself Saturday and saw a lot of social distancing. We at the hotels have, we've continued to social distance our chairs around pools and the chairs that are out back. We've enforced our own distancing and sanitation rules. We're doing things like there's no longer cleaning per day. So your room is cleaned and then you check in and it's cleaned after you leave, whether that's 1 day or 4 days or 5 days. That's to limit that contact and to keep people as safe as possible. Some of these are just industry recommendations that are coming down. But yeah, we thought everyone did a great job this weekend. In terms of occupancy, I got a lot of calls yesterday. Did the hotels fill up? And the DMO, we represent about right around 2,000 lodging rooms. That could be condos or hotel rooms at Pensacola Beach. And so we were right around 30% occupancy. Some of the hotels got around 50 to a little over 50%. The Hilton did, but part of that is because the Hilton has been participating in the healthcare workers program, the free nights. And at the beginning of last week, it's an interesting note, but there are hotels in the Hilton brand all around the country that participate in that healthcare workers program. And the Pensacola Beach Hilton had more reservations than any single hotel in the country for healthcare workers in that program last week. So we're getting a lot of our local healthcare heroes to come out and get a night or two of respite. So I thought that was an interesting piece of it.
Absolutely. Well, Rusty, we certainly, I saw that the beach was crowded and packed, but again, I saw that most of the folks were practicing the social distancing and everything like this. So, and I was happy to see that. Now, let me get down to Michael Silver. Michael, you're still with us, right? Can you hear me?
Still here. Yes, sir.
Outstanding. You know, when you contacted me a couple weeks back and we talked about your idea, and I'm not going to steal your thunder, I want you to be able to tell people what your idea was. And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And so tell us about what you did, where you did it, and how you came up with the idea, and more importantly, how's it going so far?
Sure. So I think it was a week and a half ago that I called you. About a week and a half ago, I called Mr. Burgosh and said, hey, I have this crazy idea that I've been trying to make happen for 2 months in 2 different states, and I need your help. Mr. Burgosh called me on a Saturday and said, I love the idea. So basically what it is what we're doing is called the Pop-Up Movie Tour. And it's a drive-in movie series where we're actually out at Pensacola Fairgrounds, where we set up 2 big inflatable screens. We have people, they drive up just like an old school drive-in, and it's like essentially it's a traveling movie theater where we're open Friday through Sunday this week, and we were open Thursday through Monday this past weekend. And I came up with the idea out of kind of necessity. My last business is a collegiate events company, so I do dance parties and events directly on college campuses. So when the COVID pandemic happened in the beginning of my busy season of April of SpringFest, it was very hard to, I had to kind of pivot and find some way to give some entertainment to people that followed all the social distancing guidelines. And that's where I ended up on drive-in movies, and now we're looking at drive-in concerts and other different things like that.
Well, tell the viewers, because I went out there the other day. I had some business out at the fairgrounds, unrelated to what you were doing, but I saw a lot of cars there. So how is it going so far? Has it been a big success?
It's been ticket-wise, we sold out every single show in advance, which
Right on.
in my 15 years of doing events, I have never done that. So that was really cool. But as I kind of mentioned to you, and I really feel like I got the message out among the community, is that we're a local Pensacola-based event company, and this is the first time that we've tried anything like this. So it wasn't without its hiccups. I refunded 400 tickets because we didn't deliver on what we were supposed to do. We couldn't get something working right, and like I think it was Rusty said that we're all community lifelong residents. It's not like I'm from out of town coming out and we go here for a weekend and then we leave. On jobs, I didn't realize how many jobs we would create. We hired 40 people, 30 of them returned more than once, and that was an average of 28 hours per person and a total of 625 man hours in just like a 4-day span.
Wow. So Michael, even hiring all those people and giving them all those hours, you're still able to make this a profitable venture?
Yes, sir. This weekend will make it a lot better when we don't have to refund all those tickets. I've got my teams driving literally across country, getting new equipment so that we can actually perform what we intended to this weekend.
And let me ask you, I got a couple questions coming through online right now. Timothy wants to know what the cost is, and then Philip wants to know why the movie was canceled. Was that one of those? I guess last night's movie was canceled. Was that a technical glitch on that?
That was a technical glitch. Yeah, we had issues, like I said, over the weekend, and it was like, okay, you got to go to Washington D.C. You have to go to Jacksonville, Florida, and pick this up. And it was like, we just needed that time to regroup. And I've been barely sleeping. And the team it is a lot harder. It's a lot more in depth than we thought to show 2 movies at the same time. So it's a $25 ticket, and that includes a $2 donation to charity as well. And we're picking a different local charity. Last week we were donating to Mana Food Bank.
Awesome.
So yeah, it was.
Now, Mike, let me ask you though. That's $25 for the whole carload. That's not per person.
That's for the whole carload. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now we've got a lot of old school Pensacola people on the call here. What was the drive-in theater that I used to go to in high school off of W Street? Was it called the Twin? Or what was it?
Showtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was there one, I'm trying to remember, was there one in Warrington behind the Goofy Golf back there too? I thought, was that the Twin Air Drive-In? I can't
I've
remember.
heard about that one.
Well, there was one up in Cantonment too.
Was there? I just know it's a great night out with your family. You know, I ended up moving to San Diego to go to college, got married, had kids there. But when my kids were very young, it was just a great, you know, you don't want to take young kids into the movie theater, but you can take them to the drive-in and they can yell and scream in your car and it doesn't matter and you're not bugging everyone else. But I can't tell you, Michael, how excited I was. I can't wait to get out there and see a movie myself. Now, the question a lot of people have asked me about that, are you going to be able to get some of the first run movies? You know, I know with the COVID, everything's shut down, but there's some cool movies out right now, like The Invisible Man. There's some other real cool ones coming. You going to be able to bring those to us?
I think within the next few weeks, we'll have access to everything that is a first run title. And I don't expect to see any more first run titles for at least a month or two.
Right.
You know, AMC's come out and said they're not opening, they're fighting with Universal. And so as someone who's looking to do traveling drive-ins, that's great news for me. Because I have multiple more screens on the way, and I'm actually expanding to Mobile at the end of this month. And if I had the gear to do it, I could be in 10 different places because everybody loves this idea. And especially when I talk about kind of, you know, the sidecar that goes along with the pop-up movie tour, which is the togofox.com to-go food ordering app that we had to develop as well, because, you know, we have Pep's Place out there who's been there for 50 years at the fairgrounds, and Miss Sharon out there has just been great. But what we knew was that we didn't want people getting out of their car and congregating at the concession stand. You know, even if, you know, with the we've got porta potties and we have the social distancing lines marked, but with the concession stand, we knew that we didn't want to have people doing that. So we had to develop a website, which we were literally coding and working on as orders are coming in, redoing the forms, and that has been developing that from scratch, and everything else has just been very, very, very tough, but a great learning and very fulfilling experience.
So we had talked about, because the whole thing about contactless and social distancing and things like this, about you were going to have golf carts, like take the food from the concession stand and run it to the cars. Is that what y'all are doing over there?
So we did not get enough golf carts to do that because we had so many people. So what we've got is our people that are in our vests, and then we have like a tray that they bring out, so they're not touching the bags. They're not, and the food comes all sealed up. So when they get there to the tray, they hold it up, and then the customer just grabs it right out.
That's fantastic. And do they pay on the app, or do they actually make change?
Yes,
right?
sir. They pay right there on the app, and it's all done. You know, it's all done via the app. And we're actually talking to a couple different sponsors, including Apple Pay as one of them, that we're trying to reel in and get them to support this.
See, this is exciting because in the reason I think this is so valuable, Michael, is because your company started out in an economic development incubator. Why don't you tell the folks about that? You know, I get a lot of hits. I get beat up a lot for the money that we expend as county commissioners on economic development. But some of the money we expend is through Florida West, and what they do is run CoLab, and they help incubate local entrepreneurs like you and local small businesses. So tell us about your experience and how that worked for you, because I think it's one of the most important things we do, but you know, others disagree. I think they're wrong. Tell me about your experience in our CoLab.
Yeah, so I think it was 2015, maybe 14 when we moved in. It was the CIE back then, and Kelly Reeser was running it. And they took a chance on us and said, "Hey, you're a brand new event company that we were launching into the college market." And I was developing some database software that would automate kind of our staffing, a lot of our processes. And so we moved in there. We were there for about 3 years, I think. And then we graduated, bought a piece of commercial property right across the street from the Manna Food Bank on E Street. And so we kind of graduated that program and bought a headquarter building down here in Pensacola. And we've just been doing events here and operating out of here ever since by, sending people through on the airports all the time and just using here as a headquarters.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great. Well, man, I wish you all the success in the world. Give us your website real quick for the folks who will, and there may not be a lot of people. I think there's 20 people or so watching, but what we do is we put this video online and we'll put it on the county's website, and we end up getting thousands and thousands of people watching it later. So what is the website for the pop-up movie tour?
Sure. So I'll tell you the website and I'll tell you the lineup for this weekend because I'm pretty excited about it. And the website is pensacolaDriveIn.com or the popupmovietour.com. I like my Pensacola Drive-In domain. So this weekend is a sweet lineup. We have got, let's see. Well, I can't pull it up right now. And I don't want to. Oh, here we go. Friday we've got Avengers Endgame, Jurassic Park, and The Hangover.
Nice.
Saturday we have Toy Story, E.T., Jaws, and Gremlins. Sunday we have Grease, The Wizard of Oz, and Dirty Dancing for Mother's Day.
Dirty Dancing. Wow. Yeah. Jurassic Park, the first one, the original?
The very first one. We were able to secure licensing for this stuff pretty easily. Warner Brothers Studio gave us blanket approval until the 15th, and now since they think we're going to still be there, they're going to give us more approvals, and it's been really great to hear the movie studios, because I was one of the first ones to contact them, and they thought I was crazy when I told them I wanted to show 14 movies in a field, but when they got the check for me, they were pretty happy.
Man, I wish you nothing but success, man. I'd like to see you take this nationwide. I'd like to see you put Pensacola on the map as being the brains behind doing something really cool like this and scaling it up during the pandemic. But thank you, man. Thanks for being here this morning, and I wish you much success.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And please hang out. We might bounce it back to you. But I'm going to go back about the beach. Obviously that's a big deal. Our beach was closed for 4 or 5, 6 weeks, and we're back open. But one of the cool things that kind of happened, and Rusty and Janice, I'd like you to weigh in on this, is between that time and when we reopened it, we've gone to 100% electronic tolling. And I was amazed. We went out there probably around 11 o'clock on Sunday, and there was a lot of cars, but guess what? We went right through. I mean, going through Gulf Breeze, no problem through the toll booth. So in your opinion, Rusty, I mean, you and I talked offline a little bit before this, 17,000 people out there this weekend. That's a lot of people. And you didn't see any traffic, did you? I mean, we didn't see backups, did we? I sure didn't.
No, we didn't see backups again, it was 16,000 cars on Saturday went through the toll booth. A good Saturday's in the 19, sometimes we get up to 20, but certainly the electronic tolling, it works. I think it was in 2011, 2012 when Baskerville Donovan first recommended that. The commission did a great job of allocating the money and having that by 2016, I think it was installed and ready to be turned on. And certainly there was community concern with that, and that's very valid. And, to just make changes overnight is difficult. But this has been a long process, and the professionals, the engineers, the traffic engineers have told us all along, you got to turn that electronic tolling on or get rid of the toll booth one way or the other. If you want to free up some of the traffic. So it was great to see that working. You're exactly right. It was fantastic.
And Janice, from your perspective, your reports from public safety out there and stuff, was there a noticeable difference in terms of, I know we've done some things with the traffic pattern going around Casino Beach parking, and now that combined with what we're doing with our signalization, and then combined with the automatic tolling, what reports did you receive about traffic, if any?
I didn't receive any reports necessarily about traffic. I did receive, a couple of reports where they had to, speak to a couple of folks, but I was out there on Saturday as well, and I didn't see any traffic issues. I did see folks, still kind of slowing down to go through the booth. It may just be a natural reaction because you're not sure if somebody's going to be there or not. And even though the signs say, keep moving. So I think we'll still have some growing pains and some learning, to continue to move through the toll booths. I do think some folks have said, well, we should just tear the toll booths down. I think we're a long way away from that. I think it is part of our original view when you first come off the bridge. It's not as iconic as the Pensacola Beach sign, but I do think there is something to it still. So I think it's going to be a while before that action takes place. But as with anything, there will be growing pains, and some folks will be surprised probably to get a bill in the mail for this. But I'd just like to remind them that if you don't take advantage of the SunPass or the other the electronic toll opportunities that are out there, that the $2.50 charge that you get, the first time is just for a couple of weeks. But you only get it one time. And then after that, it is a monthly charge once you're familiar. So, like I said, there'll be growing pains, and I think some folks will be a little surprised probably to get that first bill. But once they do, the rest of the state has been mostly electronic for many, many years. And then the entire state is scheduled to go all electronic in the next 2 years.
Right.
So, I know it'll be hard for some folks, like some of, you and I, we've mentioned before, putting that 35 cents in that little bucket, back in the 60s and 70s, not that I'm dating us, but, it's that nostalgia we'll just have to remember and tell our grandkids about.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, a couple people are weighing in. Timothy says he doesn't like it and we ought to be able to use the dollar. Hey, I don't disagree, but I think a lot of the issues with the beach and the tolling has been the messaging. And I think, Janice, you did a good job of describing something very important. If you get the SunPass, it's a one-time fee for that. And then you just pay $1 to get across, and the states go in that direction. And I think what we saw when we first, last summer, we were having the big backups over the bridges, and we flushed it all through using the panic switch, by opening up the toll booths and syncing the lights. And I think that was a view into the future. You can use technology and syncing lights through Gulf Breeze and not stopping to pay and get change. And that makes a huge difference. But, with our messaging, okay, $2.50 per month, and then just $1 each time. Now, the thing for me, and I'm sitting here thinking mentally, my daughter drives a car, so she's going to get a $2.50 charge. I drive my truck through $2.50. My wife, I'm the one who gets all the bills at the house, so I'll be paying a lot of $2.50 charges. But be that as it may, if you're someone who goes out there and you used to paying $1, you can get a SunPass and you can still pay $1. But what you're going to save.
You can also get an annual pass.
Yes.
A Pensacola Beach annual pass. There are a number of ways that you can do it. And we also have ECAT. We also have Route 61 and 64 that both still go to the beach, but our buses go to the beach. Now there is a fee to ride the bus, but there are other ways. You can also walk or you can bike. Not to sound silly, like you're going to go park at Shoreline and ride your bike, but right. You could. So there are other options.
There's ways.
Well, Commissioner Burgash, if I may weigh in.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I think that, again, I understand the history of it and folks wanting to pay their dollar. But a lot of this, and we shared this with you guys, but I don't know if the community is aware of this. July 4th last summer, 88% of the cars that went through on that Saturday were locals. Right. And so it's often locals who are sitting in the traffic. I know we think it's the tourists, and certainly tourism adds to that mix, but it's often folks like me and my family sitting on, through Gulf Breeze trying to get to the beach. And there's thousands of Escambians who work at Pensacola Beach, and they're just trying to get to work. And some have to leave, with the traffic concerns we've had in the past, they'd have to leave an hour early. So that's an hour more of childcare, an hour away from their family. And so what you guys did to speed that up by going all electronic, is helping so many citizens. And I know there's a trade-off there, and some folks are worried about their tag being a picture taken or not having to be able to use a dollar. And I respect that. I do. But there is a huge benefit to the employees and to the citizens of Escambia County to be able to access their park and their jobs much more easily. So we appreciate you guys for doing that.
Well, I was very happy to make the vote. We were ready to do it a while back. We had paid for all the equipment. We made a vote and we pulled it back. And I know, obviously, Timothy's on the call or is on the Facebook. I know Larry's on here. There's a lot of folks that don't like it. And it's in a perfect world, I'll be honest. And you mentioned it earlier about getting rid of the toll booth. I've said it on the dais, and my personal opinion, one vote is that we should get rid of the toll booth. That way the traffic flows all the way smooth. Of course, we can't do that without replacing the revenue. And what I've always said was, we replace the revenue, if we decide to go that route, with premium parking in a portion of the Casino Beach parking lot. And then, you obviously would leave a percentage of that for free for the early birds. So in a perfect world, if you did that, if you're a guy that gets up early, you get out there, you get there free, and you park for free. But if you're a guy like me that gets there at 11 or 12, look, I'll pay $5 for an all-day parking. But the board did not see fit to go that direction. But I agree. Get rid of the tolling, get rid of the booth, make traffic flow even smoother, and make up the revenue with premium parking in a portion of the lot. And then, of course, all the outlying parking lots at Pensacola Beach, I would say leave that free as well. And I think, in speaking with professionals that run parking lots, you could more than make up the revenue from the toll booth. But, we've gone a different direction. So that's just, I like to put that out there so people know where I'm at. But of course, there's 5 of us that get to vote, and where we're at is where we voted. I believe it was a unanimous vote to go to the all electronic tolling. Well, okay, so we're opening up the economy. We've got I love these meetings because we've got a wide variety of people here. And there's one thing we all have in common. We all go out to eat, right? We all go out to restaurants. So I'd like to go around the room and kind of see what your experience has been. I've been, eating takeout a lot. And now you've got Mother's Day coming up. We got the restaurants open. Janice, why don't you tell everyone right now exactly what can a restaurant owner do in Escambia County under the governor's phased opening and that we're following in terms of using his restaurant and the capacity?
Yeah, so they can have 25% of their capacity in their restaurant, but they can also do all outdoor dining. And I think you saw where the mayor, has been having conversations about trying to provide, extra access because our sidewalks are a little smaller here in downtown Pensacola, for outside dining. So that's one of the things. And then you still have the opportunity for the dine in and, takeout. I've been encouraging as many people as we can, to make sure that you continue to support these restaurants. And we've actually enjoyed as a family picking up a meal and then eating on our own back deck. So we've been able to support the restaurants, but then also, enjoy time together on the deck at our house. So, I think that that's one of those things that hopefully will be something that maybe will stay with us as a community where you continue to enjoy meals as a family or as friends together while supporting our local economy. But
I know yesterday was Cinco de Mayo, and we we patronized the cactus flower and got the margarita to go and the tacos to go. So, but I know as a former restaurant owner, I went through college working in restaurants, waiting tables, bartending. It's tough. It's a tough business to start with because the margins are so very thin. It's almost, though, when you tell them you can open up 25%, it's almost like, well, congratulations. Now I'm going to pay staff, I'm going to pay cooks, but I'm not going to be able to, because you pretty much have to pack a restaurant to make it. So what would you say to the restaurant owner who says, well, thanks a lot, but that doesn't help me?
mm-hmm.
Janet, what would you say to a restaurant owner in Escambia County that says, thanks a lot, but that doesn't help me?
Well, what I would say is that most restaurant owners that I know, and particularly here, restaurant owners that they're extremely committed to their avocation. They're committed as a chef. They're committed to the employees that they have. Most of the ones that I'm aware of, their commitment goes beyond the turnover in terms of the number of tables and things like that. It's a personal passion. And I think that's one of the things that's so important about Pensacola. While we do have chain restaurants, we have an inordinate number of homegrown mom and pop or, individual restaurants. And so I'm hoping that those restaurants, stay in business and we're able to continue to support their passion. I do know that like chains, like I think Chick-fil-A and others haven't necessarily seen a downturn. If they've seen a downturn, it's maybe only been like 5% or something like that. And I don't know if you've tried to get into Krispy Kreme, but you can't get into Krispy Kreme.
I saw the drive-through line. I said, nope.
Yes, 9 Mile Road and 9th Avenue are both, you're stuck out there, trying to get in, and they have 2 lanes. But what I would say is that don't be afraid to ask our community for support, because I think our community is very, very supportive of local businesses. And I think if we know that you need our support, I'll give you an example. I ate at the Four Seasons yesterday at lunch, and the gentleman and his wife that run the place and their other chef, you couldn't find nicer people that are committed to providing a meal to folks, and that just makes me want to support them even more. And so I think that type of reaching out, not only from us as community folks trying to make sure that we support them, but them not being afraid to ask us for that support and that help, is, you know, what I would suggest. So
Rusty, what are the hoteliers doing? I know several of them out there have the restaurants on premise too. How are they being creative in order to maximize their revenue, being only able to use 25% of their indoor capacity? What have you heard from your sources out there?
Yeah, so several of our members, you know, operate restaurants as well as hotels or vacation rentals, and yeah, it's tough, like you said, because the margins are thin. And certainly, I agree with Ms. Gilly that there's a lot of commitment, and our folks across the community work very hard. I've been on lots of conference calls with restaurateurs, but you know, it's most of them kept cooks on because they could do takeout, and you would see a lot of the owners actually working the front door. And so, fortunately for the beach restaurants, most of them have outside dining because that's what a lot of people want. So, you know, they didn't have to adjust much. I mean, from, you know, Grand Marling to Hemingway's to Redfish, Bluefish, and down the line, they have lots of outdoor seating, crabs and flounders. So, you know, they were able to as soon as the governor gave that option on Monday, to get back. Part of the issue we're struggling with right now is that, you know, and Representative or Congressman Gates spoke about this yesterday in an interview, just the unemployment situation and folks coming back to work and trying to staff up too soon. I, like you, was going to go to a Mexican restaurant yesterday on 9 Mile for Cinco de Mayo and sit down because I thought I'd be in the 25%, but they weren't even having anyone sit. They hadn't exercised that option yet because it wasn't, you know, just wasn't, the numbers didn't work out for them. So they were still just doing takeout. And I think there's going to be a lot of that where folks are balancing. And unfortunately, I think right now, if you look at the data, and we've done that in terms of travel in the summer, you know, the demand, the searching to come to Pensacola is very low until, you know, way out October, November. So I agree with Ms. Gilly that, you know, we're really going to have to lean into our locals and, you know, and help one another and eat out as much as possible and, you know, balance all of that. So, but it's certainly a struggle.
Well, and that kind of leads me to a cool segue. Obviously, over the last 2 weeks, Escambia County has started this new initiative to help the restaurants. Many of the restaurants have the brick and mortar locations, but then they also have the food trucks that they operate. And so there was a group of folks on the Beulah Scoop, which is a Facebook chat site, that tagged me and said, "Hey, look, we want to bring one food truck out to the Equestrian Center. Can you help us get the $75 per day fee waived?" And I said, "Wow, okay." So I talked to Michael Rhodes, who's the director of our Parks and Rec department, and he said he'd been getting calls too. And so we put our heads together. And Janice, I know you weighed in, and what we decided to do was just waive the fee for everyone and bring up to 4 food trucks. So kind of Michael, kind of like your situation, you know, we had a few hiccups the first couple of days. You know, we had the snow cone guy and the wiener guy, and they ran out of food, and there was a few hiccups. But now, oh my gosh, the lines they're running out of food. It's so popular. It's been so well received. We got 4 trucks. If you go out there this week, lunchtime in the afternoon, it's been incredibly embraced by the community. So to get back to your point, Janice, our community is incredibly generous, and they are loving the food trucks. So Michael, as it pertains to your operation, how about, would you ever consider, you know, working arm in arm, linking arms with some of these food truck operators and let them do the golf cart driving? You know what I mean? You know, let them bring their things out. They would probably be happy to deliver it to the car. Would you work with the food trucks for your operation?
Yeah, we had definitely thought about it. At first we wanted to start out with Pep's Place because they had that physical location right there on the fairgrounds.
Right.
But we wanted to start there, see if they could keep up and see how things went there. And then, you know, kind of walk before we crawl on anything. Because the last thing I want to do is have vendors come out and not make any money, or, you know, it not be enough people to where it doesn't make sense for them to come out.
Gotcha. And what does a sellout for you look like, Michael?
We have 2 theaters. Last week it was 250 cars in one theater and 150 cars in the other theater. I actually upgraded to a 40-foot screen versus the 30-foot screen we had in the big one. So I think we can actually add 50 to 60 more tickets. because the screen is like 400 square feet larger. It's almost 1,000 square feet of projection. So it's very large. So it's like probably another 8 feet taller and 9 or 10 feet wider. So it's
Wow.
gonna be really cool.
Yeah, you sent me the picture of the one, and I thought that was amazing, man. I thought, yeah. Now, what about the radio? No problems with the radio getting the sound in the cars. No issues there.
That was where we kind of had our issues, was with the radios.
Oh.
You know, with radios and with the tech, and you know what we did to kind of combat that is we've added some satellite speakers halfway up and some at the front, so that folks, if they don't want to keep their cars on, they can unroll their windows and listen there. We tried everything from I partnered with a local internet data company called Data Revolution, and they came out and installed a full Wi-Fi mesh network, and we tried to do audio streaming to the phones, and that just got too bogged down. We had too many people connected to it. So I've got a new FM transmitter, 2 new FM transmitter coming this week, and the new screens, so that this week we can do it without any hiccups, because it is we won't be able to do it again this weekend like we did last weekend, and people come back, and I'm aware of that.
Well, I think people are going to realize, kind of like with the food trucks, the first couple of days you're trying something, there'll be the occasional person who will say, "Oh, I'm never coming back." But I think most people will give you the shot, especially if you do the right thing. In the restaurant business, you mess up someone's meal, you replace it, you buy them dessert, buy them a cocktail, whatever the case might be. You did the right thing. You send them the tickets back. They know you're figuring it out. The good news for you, though, we're like your beta test. You figure it all out here in Pensacola, right? And then when you scale it up, it's perfect when you go everywhere else. Now, and it's such a cool idea. I think we're happy to be the beta test.
No, I'm really happy for it to be a Pensacola-born event. That my first one was supposed to be last month in Mobile, and I just don't think it would have gone over the same. At the beginning of each showing, I get up and I give out my phone number, and it says, if you don't have fun for whatever reason, I'll give you a full refund with no questions asked. So people are appreciating the candidness and the transparency that we're kind of giving them, I think.
No, believe me, I could not believe how many times when I did that first blog post, Michael, and I put it on Facebook, it got shared like 800 times. I could not believe how many people were sharing that thing. I mean, you got tremendous response to that. That's why I'm not surprised that you sold out. And I think there's still a lot of interest in doing that, because in the era that we're in right now, there's just not a whole lot of options for families to get out of the house. So, man, I wish you all the continued success. But as we segue back into a discussion about business, Janice, I want to make sure that we emphasize this point for all the small business owners in Escambia County, because I've had people call me up and chew me out. I mean, I'm listening to what they have to say. I get it. I know it's frustrating when you have payroll and you don't have money coming in. You're trying to navigate these government programs that don't work, and you put in for the Paycheck Protection Plan and you don't get it, even though you're one of the first people that apply for it. But people down the street that have big accounts, they get it. So there's a lot of frustration out there. But Janice, just so fact check me on this. Escambia County Commission, the commissioners, we didn't vote to close anybody's business, correct?
No, sir. No, sir. You did not. You did take as everyone's very familiar, you did listen to the healthcare professionals at the very beginning of this, related to, folks organizing in groups, and particularly the beach. And so that was, one of the actions that you did take, but it was under very, I would say, very stringent counsel from healthcare and medical professionals.
Yeah.
I think that the actions that the governor and the federal government have taken, they also were listening to healthcare professionals, epidemiologists, infectious disease experts. And so, I think the after action report that we all do related to this incident is going to be extremely important for future pandemics, or maybe for the future citizenry to look and see the impact and the actions that were taken. I did want to mention, and I didn't know if Rusty or you had a chance yet to look at the Haas Center report that came out late yesterday afternoon.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's a pretty good report. In terms of I would say, statistically accurate in terms of the information that they've collected from around the state. And the authors on the report are pretty prestigious as well. Jerry Parrish is one of them. Then you have Amy, and I mean, there's a whole list of folks. And 61% of Floridians from their report, I think they ended up with like 3,500 responses from around the state, have kind of postponed or delayed some of their spending and things like that. And they had 24% that have 24% of the folks surveyed had already received a reduction in their salaries and their income. And so what's important for us to look at in this regard is, are we going to have a quick V bounce? Everybody's going to get back in the next 4 to 6 weeks and we're going to bounce back, right? Like maybe something hasn't happened. Or are we going to have the double bounce where we bounce back and then folks decide from a business perspective, we have another spike and I just can't do this again. And so we, go back, do the typical W bounce, or do we do the long-term bounce where we've bounced down and we've had this reduction in either wages or economic expenses, and we stay low for a long time. I think that's the $50 billion question that we're all going to need to hopefully have answered by July, as all of us are trying to do budgets. Whether you're a business person or you're a government person, you are having to decide your budget for the next year. And like as Rusty and others have mentioned, from a business perspective, you're trying to decide whether or not you're going to stay in business, whether or not you can recover in such a way, or whether or not your employees are going to come back and help you recover. So, you as a commission did not close any businesses. You did not. And all the action that was taken was above you.
It was. And a lot of folks don't understand. And I've had several get really militant and mercenary about it and say, well, you should just stand up to the governor. And that's why I asked the question I asked of the attorney that I did. Under the Constitution, he has powers under an emergency declaration. And if we were to blatantly disregard that, we could be removed from office and face other sanctions. So it's not as easy as just stand up to the man. Here's the thing. We did not close any small business in Escambia County. And I just want to emphasize that over and over and over. Other people did. Other communities did. They went above and beyond and they proactively closed things. We followed the governor's executive orders. We closed the beach only when begged to do so by the hospitals, the doctors, and the health department. We reopened as soon as it was practical. And Escambia County has not closed any business. Now, a couple of things that I want to talk about too, and I want you guys to weigh in on this. Tell me if I'm just crazy. Right now, dentists are allowed to perform root canals, extractions, complex procedures in a person's mouth, but I can't go get a haircut from my barber. What is up with that? That is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. And I hope that someone will whisper in his ear and say, listen, man, there's a lot of hairstylists, beauty salons, barbers. They can wear a mask and it's a lot less invasive with a lot less stuff flying in the air than when I get a root canal or get a wisdom tooth extracted. The other thing too, Rusty, and I know you'll get a kick out of this one. And is this the strength of lobbyists in Tallahassee? The hotels now can open. They can open. Hundreds of people packed into one hotel. But if I'm a guy who's scrimped and saved and I bought a couple of condos out at the beach or single family dwellings, I can't rent those out through VRBO. That doesn't seem equitable to me. And I think it's a big problem. So I'd love to hear your perspective on that, guys. Rusty, what do you think?
Well, I agree with you on that. I'm not sure what the difference is between a hotel and a vacation rental. About half our members are vacation rental folks. And I kind of polled a few the other day and just asked, and I know that in deposits alone, just a few of our members have sent back over 10 million in deposits. And I mean, it's unbelievable how that's going to impact Northwest Florida because we're so dependent. Again, Congressman Gates mentioned this the other day. We're very different than South Florida in that regard. So, I don't understand that, what the difference is. There's a lot of theories in Tallahassee why the governor's doing this and not that. But at the end of the day, there has been no real reasons given that we can find. And so we're certainly advocating that those properties be allowed. And at this point, what would be very helpful to those short-term vacation rental individuals, whether you're big or small, is just to have a date so they could start taking reservations. At this point, it's without end, so they can't even begin to do that. But if you let me say one thing real quick about you said you didn't close any businesses, and I agree with that 100%. And the one action you did take was closing the beach, as a board. And I think there were probably no group more directly affected than the beach hotels. And we were there that day that you took that vote, and we heard what the sheriff said. We heard what Dan Brown and the park system said, and we certainly heard what the healthcare community, and being the most affected, we didn't oppose that. We supported you guys because we understood the uncertainty at the time and the need to take action to protect this community. And so, I want to applaud you guys for the actions you took in that regard. And we as a business group certainly have felt that, but we understood it and we supported it. And I hate that you're taking any heat now on the backside of this, especially things you had no control over. But you guys did a good thing.
Well, thank you. And it was good to see the sheriff. He came to our meeting and he said he agreed with us. He stood up there and said, you made the right decision. It was a tough call. I'm just glad to see it reopen. And I certainly hope that we're able to get Avenida 18 under control and any other issues out there. But it was certainly great to see families enjoying the beach. It was a beautiful weekend. In fact, we couldn't have picked a better weather weekend to open it. Janice,
we agreed with you on the reopening too.
Oh, yeah. Sure you do. Janice, any other thoughts that you'd like to share with people watching this or who are going to watch this later today about if you're a small business owner in Escambia County and you're on, you're not in phase one of being able to reopen, anything that you would say to them, any insight from the governor's office or from Tallahassee that you'd like to give to small businesses who are struggling, trying to hang in there?
So ESF 18, which is our Economic Development Emergency Support Function Group, should have their information up on Escambia. So what we're doing is we're doing a joint web resource page for Escambia and Santa Rosa. I believe that will be up and live by tomorrow. And so I would ask folks to look at that in terms of resources that'll be available in the area. You as a commission have tried very hard to provide some micro grants, as well as Santa Rosa County has too. It is a difficult time, and my heart goes out to these small business owners, particularly the salons, the barber shops, the folks that provide us personal services all the time. And we are all dying to get those services back from them, but we're not able to. And so, it's been heartbreaking to hear some of the stories from those individuals. So, if I could get my hair cut more than once in the next couple of weeks, I will. I can't wait to go see Vivi again. I've mentioned her on many calls, but there's also, my husband and others that can't wait to get back to their barber shops. And I will share with you that I have had several conversations with the governor's office specifically about, cosmetologists and barbers, and shared with them the stories that we've heard here. And as you saw, the governor went to a barber shop last Saturday. I don't really understand the hesitation in that particular small business, but there must be a reason. And I just hope that whatever the answer is that they're looking for, they get really quickly, because I do think those folks are extremely vulnerable. They're as they're good souls. They listen to us as we all sit in their chair and, tell them about our families and hear about their families. And so they're people that we have relationships with. And so from that perspective, I do look forward to us all being able to get back there. But please, we will have our resource page up, I believe, in the next day. ESF 18, which has been Florida West, the Chamber, all of these different groups, African American Chamber, Santa Rosa County, Economic Development, all those folks have been working to try and pull those resources together so that we can get that live for folks in the next, hopefully.
And I appreciate that update. Well, folks, we've gone through an hour already. It's hard to believe it's that time, but I want to let folks know next week I've got a special discussion that I'm looking forward to having. And Janice, of course, we appreciate you being here, and Eric, but I'm going to bring some folks in that deal with youth sports. One of the things that we discussed briefly at a meeting last week was youth sports, when we're going to get the leagues going. And I'm really looking forward to that discussion. So if you're a parent who has kids that are looking forward to the summer sports season, anything going on with respect to the county and what we do and all the organizations and associations that utilize our parks, we're going to have a real good discussion about that next week and how we do it safely, so that kids are safe and parents and volunteers and coaches are safe. So look forward to that next week. Michael Silver, man, thank you for being here this morning. best of luck to you going forward. I'll see you out there. I'm going to come out. Rusty Branch, let's get the summer rolling out at the beach. Let's make money for all your members so that they can pay hotel tax, right? Which helps us.
Quick bounce.
Yes. And then Janice, thank you as always for getting up early and being here and all the hard work you're doing. And for everyone who tuned in this morning, thanks for being here. Every week we're going to do these till we get out of this COVID craziness, weird environment that we're in right now. And we're going to keep talking about recovery because there's no doubt we're in the recovery mode now. We're out of the crisis mode. Now we're in recovery mode. So everyone have a great rest of the week. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you next Wednesday morning at 6:30 a.m. for Coffee with the Commissioner. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.